This film is a dramatization of real events spanning nearly a decade, from 2004 to 2013. It opens in the quiet tension of a public place in Hong Kong in the year 2013. The setting is ordinary, unremarkable on the surface, but charged with anticipation. Laura Poitras, a calm and perceptive documentarian, sits beside journalist Glenn Greenwald. They wait, watching the minutes slip past the agreed meeting time for a conversation that could shake the foundations of global power. Glenn grows doubtful. He questions how someone so young could possibly hold access to the kind of classified intelligence they've been promised. But Laura remains steady. She trusts the source will come. She believes that the elusive figure, Edward Snowden, is real, and that what he has to say will be nothing short of historic. Before long, a slender man in black approaches them. He carries a Rubik's Cube in hand, inconspicuous yet symbolic, like a puzzle waiting to be solved. His words are casual, but their conversation is loaded. They speak about food, local places to eat, but beneath the surface, every sentence feels rehearsed, coded, deliberate. The three of them are testing one another, vetting the legitimacy of the meeting without directly naming its purpose. One wrong word, one false cue, and the whole thing would collapse. But it doesn't. Slowly, they circle into a quiet rhythm of trust. A silent nod here, a carefully worded phrase there. When it becomes clear that each of them is exactly who they claim to be, they slip away and head to a hotel room that Snowden has booked ahead of time, away from prying eyes. Once inside, Snowden's paranoia becomes more evident. He asks Glenn to surrender his cell phone. Without hesitation, he drops it into a microwave oven, a crude but effective method of blocking potential surveillance signals. He insists that Laura be the only one recording. These precautions, while extreme, reveal the magnitude of what he is about to share. Snowden isn't a conspiracy theorist. He is a man haunted by what he knows. The room becomes their confessional. Snowden begins to speak. Glenn, ever the journalist, wastes no time. He barrels in with pointed questions, but Snowden recoils. His body language stiffens, his eyes darting. Laura steps in, recognizing his discomfort. She gently draws Snowden back into himself, lets him speak at his own pace, and the story begins.
My name is Edward Joseph Snowden.
Edward Joseph Snowden, 29 years old, a private contractor for the NSA, a former private contractor for the CIA. For 9 years, he has served in varying capacities across the United States intelligence architecture. What he is about to reveal is more than just shocking. It is seismic. The government, he claims, is engaged in mass surveillance of its own citizens and allies, using tools designed for war to monitor billions of communications across the globe. But before we dive into the scandal, the narrative takes a sharp turn backward, into Snowden's memory, into the beginning. It is 2004. Snowden, at that time 21, has enlisted in the United States Army. His goal is bold and ambitious. He wants to join the Special Forces.
Nothing, sir! Where's your fucking heart? Right here, sir!
He is determined, laser-focused, and throws himself into basic training with all the energy he can muster. He's not the strongest nor the fastest, but he's driven. He keeps up. He pushes himself. But then, fate intervenes. During a training exercise, he fractures his tibia. The injury is not only painful, but final. He is issued an administrative discharge. His military career ends before it even begins. Yet, in the sterile light of the examination room, a doctor offers him another path. Service, he says, does not always have to come through muscle. There are other ways to serve the nation. Snowden takes the words to heart. A new plan begins to form. He applies to the Central Intelligence Agency. The screening process is exhaustive. Psychological evaluations, background checks, aptitude tests. When he sits across from the examining officer, the conversation reveals layers of his personality and potential.
Yes, sir.
He has missed a perfect score on the ASVAB test by just one question. He performs brilliantly on language acquisition assessments, a smattering of Mandarin, A dose of Japanese. No high school diploma, but a mind that is clearly voracious. When pressed on why he didn't finish school, he explains.
And no high school diploma.
So why did you stop attending high school?
Family turmoil, financial hardship, parental divorce. He left school because he had to. He needed to work for money. The officer probes further. He wants to understand Snowden's ideological influences. The young man responds with a list that ranges from classical literature to pop culture, the likes of Joseph Campbell and Thoreau, the objectivism of Ayn Rand, and the mythos of Star Wars, a strange mixture of philosophy, rebellion, and individualism. When asked why he wants to join the CIA,
Why do you want to join the CIA?
Sounds really cool to have top security clearance.
Snowden offers an answer that is both honest and naive. It's not about ideology. It's about the prestige, the access, the cool factor of having top security clearance. The officer is unimpressed. The answers are too light, too casual for someone seeking entry into one of the most secretive arms of government. Snowden braces for rejection, but something unexpected happens. The officer, who later reveals himself as Deputy Director Corbin O'Brien, decides to take a chance. These are not ordinary times, he says. The world is shifting. Terrorism is no longer a conventional threat. Intelligence has become the new battlefield. The CIA needs thinkers, not just soldiers. And Snowden, despite his unconventional background, has the kind of mind they desperately need.
Thank you, sir.
Snowden
Thank you
is
very much. You
accepted.
won't regret this.
He is sent to a facility known as The Hill, a training ground for the next generation of cyber operatives.
Need to see your ID?
The building is stark and secretive, the air buzzing with nervous energy and silent competition. On his first day, Snowden is clearly out of his depth. He wanders the halls trying to locate his classroom. It's then that he meets Hank Forrester, one of the instructors. Their brief exchange reveals much. Snowden, though self-taught, is an eager student of computing. He speaks with the curiosity of a man who has spent endless hours dismantling and rebuilding systems just for the thrill of it. When he finally arrives at Corbin O'Brien's class, the challenge presented is steep. Each recruit is to construct a covert communication network in their hometown, erase all traces of it, and then rebuild it, all within 8 hours. 5 hours is the average.
5 hours.
Most students buckle under the pressure, but Snowden, almost methodically, glides through the task. He completes it in 38 minutes.
I'm done, sir.
What?
38 minutes.
When Corbin reviews the work, he is stunned. The exercise is not just completed, it's flawless. There is no trace, no redundancy, no digital fingerprint left behind. Corbin doesn't offer much praise. In fact, he doesn't say anything at all at first. He simply stares at the result, then walks away. Snowden, unsure of what to do, follows him and asks what his next step should be. Corbin's response is curt and open-ended. The answer is that he can do whatever the heck he wants. This is not just Corbin's way of giving approval, not quite. It is also permission, an invitation into a world of infinite complexity, power, and risk. From that point on, Snowden becomes a rising star within the intelligence community. Though not yet a full-time government employee, his skills earn him assignments that few others can handle. Meanwhile, Snowden meets Lindsay Mills through an online dating platform. She is witty, creative, and full of fire, a sharp contrast to his composed and structured nature. Mills is an avid photographer, bursting with artistic energy and liberal ideals.
You mentioned that earlier.
She sees the world through a skeptical lens, questioning power, decrying unjust wars, and calling out executive overreach. Snowden, on the other hand, is conservative in his outlook. He believes deeply in the order and dignity of the United States government, still holding fast to an almost reverent view of institutions, national duty, and constitutional frameworks. Their political ideologies are in direct opposition, yet chemistry overrides politics. They are drawn to each other almost instantly, and despite their differences, their connection is magnetic. Their first meeting sparks laughter, friction, debate, and ends with a kiss. From that moment, their relationship deepens. They become inseparable, even as their worldviews remain worlds apart. Back at his intelligence training facility, Snowden delves into the complexities of government surveillance. He learns about the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, and the legal apparatus surrounding it. What he uncovers unsettles him. FISA permits the government to circumvent Fourth Amendment protections, allowing intelligence agencies to request surveillance warrants through a secret court of judges appointed solely by the Chief Justice. It is a loophole, hidden in plain sight, that legalizes what would otherwise be deemed illegal. For Snowden, it is one of the first real cracks in the pristine image he has long held of the U.S. intelligence system. Snowden continues to stay in touch with Hank Forrester, one of the instructors he met early in his training. Hank is older now, weary in his eyes, but sharp as ever. He sees in Snowden a mirror of his younger self, curious, ambitious, unrelenting. He was once top of his class too, a rising star handpicked for high-stakes assignments. From Soviet frontier work to Desert Storm, Hank served on the front lines of intelligence warfare. Later, he was tasked with tackling the emerging threat of terrorism online, trying to sift meaningful targets out of a digital ocean of irrelevant noise. But Hank's story takes a darker turn. During one of their brief conversations, Hank shares that, years ago, he was part of a promising project, one focused on data and privacy, aiming to build automated checks into intelligence operations. But after September 11th, the government quietly shut down the project. Not long after, a colleague told Hank that much of his work had been resurrected, only now stripped of constraints. No automation, no oversight. The system had been weaponized. Hank had filed a complaint, formally and with good reason. But rather than being rewarded, he had been shelved. The rising star of yesterday had been buried in a teaching role he could not escape. As he opens up about this, Hank's words hang heavy in the air. Snowden does not respond directly. Instead, with Hank's permission, he borrows a Rubik's Cube and heads to class, leaving the older man in silent reflection. Whether Snowden fully grasps the warning in Hank's story is unclear, but a seed is planted. Soon after, Snowden receives a new assignment. He meets again with Corbin O'Brien, his enigmatic mentor from the CIA. Snowden immediately tries to broach the topic he discussed with Hank earlier, but Corbin shuts it down with a curt response. Snowden then assumes that, given his performance and top marks, he will be deployed to the Middle East, where most of the current conflicts are boiling over. But Corbin surprises him. Snowden is not going to a war zone. Corbin tells him that while the world is focused on the chaos of Iraq and Afghanistan, the real threats are stealthier and more enduring. Cyber warfare, he says, will be the next battlefield. The threats will come from Russia, China, Iran, not through bombs or bullets, but through malware, secret injections, invisible code. Corbin believes Snowden's mind is too valuable to risk in unstable territory. He sees Snowden not just as a gifted analyst, but as a strategic asset, one who must be kept at the forefront of a war fought with silence and software, not soldiers and steel. The timeline shifts again, bringing us back to the present in that now familiar Hong Kong hotel room. Glenn and Laura are no longer alone. A third figure joins the circle, Ewan MacAskill, a journalist from The Guardian. As with the others, Ewan's phone is placed in a microwave. The ritual has become almost symbolic now, a small act of defiance against surveillance, a gesture that says trust must be earned and protected. Ewan wants proof. If Snowden is who he claims to be, there must be credentials, artifacts, documents. Snowden obliges. He lays out the evidence one item at a time. Diplomatic passports, a tourist passport, NSA badge from his time with Booz Allen Hamilton, a CIA badge from his stint with Dell, a DIA instructor's badge, photographs of himself standing beside Michael Hayden, the former head of both the NSA and CIA. Ewan studies the items, impressed but still unsure. Why would Snowden expose himself so completely? Why not remain anonymous? Snowden explains his reasoning. He knows the risks. He expects to be charged under the Espionage Act. He knows the government will brand him a traitor and will accuse him of endangering national security. They will not only destroy his name, but target his friends, his family, anyone who supported him. Prison is not a possibility. It's a certainty. And, ironically, in his mind, it's the best case scenario. The worst? If his story is buried, if the media coverage fails, the government will come for him in the dark. He will be rendered, kidnapped, tortured, interrogated, without due process. He even knows where some of their black sites are located in Hong Kong. He does not conceal his identity. Instead, he deliberately leaves a digital footprint, ensuring the government knows exactly who accessed and removed the classified files. He wants to prevent a manhunt, to shield innocent colleagues from suspicion, and to avoid door-to-door raids or reckless accusations. The responsibility is his alone. He emphasizes that he is not motivated by fame or profit. His goal is simple but weighty: to get the data into the hands of journalists, to inform the public, to raise awareness. He believes people deserve the chance to know what is happening behind the walls of their government, and to decide for themselves whether something deeply wrong is taking place. Snowden acknowledges that his decision is not easy or pleasant, but he feels he cannot stand by in silence. He believes someone has to take the first step, even when the path is uncertain. For him, that is what leadership means: taking a stand for what one believes is right, despite personal risk and in defiance of authority. He does not see himself as a hero. Rather, he considers his actions an expression of self-interest aimed at protecting individual privacy and intellectual freedom. Though he is aware of the legal consequences, he views the exposure of mass surveillance as a necessary act of public service. Another round of interviews begins. Snowden continues his story, this time shifting to his first foreign posting. The year is 2007. Geneva. Snowden is sent abroad, operating under diplomatic cover as part of his CIA assignment. Lindsay joins him in Switzerland, a world away from her familiar American routines. Geneva is beautiful, but carries a cold undertone of secrecy. Snowden meets Gabriel Sol, a fellow operative with extensive experience in electronic surveillance. Sol becomes a key figure in Snowden's early exposure to the darker side of intelligence work. Snowden begins to see cracks in the system. The ethical lines blur quickly. Surveillance here isn't just observation of personal secrets to the point of nudity. It's manipulation. At one point, Snowden watches as his superior orchestrates a trap. A target is set up with a DUI, coaxed into a vulnerable position, and then pressured into cooperation. It is efficient, ruthless, legal in form, but not in spirit. Snowden is shaken. He joined the CIA to protect people, not to entrap them. This moment marks a turning point. His trust in the institution falters. Disillusioned, Snowden resigns from the CIA. The experience in Geneva leaves him unsettled. His worldview begins to shift. The government he once trusted implicitly now appears fractured, its moral compass compromised. He sees a machine that prioritizes data over dignity, results over rights. As the film continues to unfold, Snowden's personal life becomes increasingly entangled with his ethical dilemmas. Lindsay senses the weight he carries, though he keeps much of it to himself. The tension grows as he is pulled deeper into a system that demands silence and obedience, while his conscience pulls him toward truth and resistance. In Hong Kong, the journalists listen, record, and ask questions. Snowden, calm but resolute, continues to unspool the web of secrecy he once helped build. He is not just leaking documents. He is telling the story behind them, the human story, the story of how ideals erode and institutions drift into shadow. He is not unaware of the consequences. He has calculated every risk. But in his mind, this is what patriotism looks like. Not blind loyalty, but accountability. Not silence, but courage. Snowden later accepts a position with the National Security Agency in Japan under the initial pretense of developing a data recovery program known as Epic Shelter. The stated goal of the program is to allow the US government to back up all critical data originating from the Middle East in the event of a major emergency. Snowden, committed to the vision of preserving vital intelligence in volatile regions, throws himself into the task. Yet it does not take long before he realizes the true scope of the operation and the deeper objectives at play. While based in Japan, he uncovers startling patterns in the agency's activities. It becomes apparent that Epic Shelter is only part of a much broader surveillance apparatus. The NSA, along with other US intelligence agencies, has begun embedding malware into the digital infrastructure of allied nations. These malware programs are quietly planted in the computers and servers responsible for managing government systems, financial institutions, and national infrastructure. The justification is preemptive defense. Should any allied government ever turn hostile toward the United States, the NSA would have the capability to shut them down completely. Snowden is disturbed. What he once believed to be a purely defensive platform is actually a digital weapon. It is not about preserving alliances, but controlling them. The magnitude of this revelation begins to erode Snowden's peace of mind, and the stress bleeds into his personal life. His relationship with Lindsay Mills, which had weathered years of dislocation and ideological tension, begins to falter. One evening, he notices her browsing the dating website where they first met. When he confronts her, she explains that she never contacts anyone. She only scrolls, idly peering into lives that are not hers, lives that are moving forward while hers is put on pause. Her life is put on pause anytime he's away, she says. Snowden sees it as an excuse. She sees it as honesty. The conversation stings. Mills apologizes quickly, reaffirms her commitment to him, and assures him she wants no one else. They make up, sharing a brief moment of reconciliation. But the cracks are growing deeper. In the months that follow, the emotional distance between them widens. Snowden's paranoia becomes more pronounced. He sees surveillance patterns in everyday life. His conversations grow more restrained. Mills, a naturally curious person, asks questions. She wants answers about his work, about the things that trouble him, the thoughts that keep him awake. But Snowden is evasive. He fears who might be listening. Their home, once filled with energy and playfulness, grows colder. Mills resents the secrecy. She is tired of the silence, the late nights, the heavy mood. Their intimacy fades. The emotional toll becomes too much. She moves back to her family in Maryland. Alone, Snowden spirals. The absence of Mills is not just painful, it is unbearable. He finds himself consumed by regret. After 3 empty months, he resigns from his position in Japan and returns to the United States. He reconnects with Mills in Maryland. The love they share, though strained, is still alive. They move in together again, promising to heal, to grow, to rebuild. For a time, things are better. Snowden secures a position consulting for the CIA, this time as a private contractor. Their home regains some warmth. They laugh more. They touch more. But beneath the surface, the world Snowden tried to escape still follows him. Each time he feels close to letting go of his anxiety, a new discovery drags him back in. He learns about 3 high-ranking NSA officials, Bill Binney, Ed Loomis, and Kirk Wiebe, who spent years filing internal complaints about the agency's overreach and data abuse. Their complaints were ignored. Eventually, the FBI raided their homes. Then, there is Thomas Drake, another insider who tried to expose these violations. When the system failed him, he turned to the press. In response, the government charged him under the Espionage Act. The charges were not just punitive, they were performative, a warning shot to others who might think of doing the same. These stories haunt Snowden. They underscore a disturbing truth. Speaking out from within the system is not just discouraged, it is punished. The path to change is barricaded. Reform is not welcomed, it is crushed. During a hunting trip with Corbin O'Brien, Snowden's mentor, he is reminded of his earlier training. He remains a skilled marksman. The army had taught him well, but the outing is not just a recreational trip. Corbin shares details of an operation in Oahu. It involves cyber counterattacks against Chinese hackers. The digital battlefield is heating up, and Corbin wants Snowden back in action.
It's your ticket to the top.
Not long after, Snowden is diagnosed with epilepsy. The condition forces a reevaluation of his work environment. Mills, believing the climate and pace of Hawaii might help, encourages him to accept the Oahu post. Snowden agrees. They relocate to the island, and for a moment, life seems to offer a new beginning. But once again, peace proves fleeting. In Hawaii, Snowden joins a classified division nicknamed the Tunnel. There, he discovers the full truth about Epic Shelter. It is no longer a hypothetical data recovery tool. It is now being used in real time to aid drone strikes. Intelligence gathered through Epic Shelter is used to identify, track, and eliminate terror suspects in Pakistan. Innocents are often caught in the crossfire. The realization is crushing.
Engage target.
The timeline cuts back to the present. In Hong Kong, Snowden, Laura, Glenn, and Ewan McCaskill are locked in tense negotiations with editors at The Guardian. They face a bottleneck. The newspaper is hesitant. Snowden knows the US government is aware that the files are in their possession. Glenn urges immediate publication. The team is sitting on a live grenade. Delay is dangerous. After heated deliberations, the editor relents. The first story is published. Back in the past, Snowden's disillusionment reaches a breaking point. The tool he designed to protect people has become an instrument of death. The digital empire he once served is spiraling beyond control. He can no longer reconcile the work he does with the ethics he holds. He makes a plan. Carefully, methodically, he begins smuggling data out of his secure facility. He hides a micro SD card inside a Rubik's Cube. The same puzzle toy that once served as a simple prop becomes his tool of resistance. One day, he tells his colleagues he is feeling unwell. He leaves the facility. He tells Mills to return home to Maryland. She does not ask questions. She trusts him, even in silence. Snowden reaches out to Laura and Glenn. A meeting is scheduled. With Ewan's help, they begin releasing the files to the public. On June 5th, 2013, the first story drops. The revelations are explosive. In the days that follow, more leaks emerge. Surveillance programs, international espionage, data collection on an unimaginable scale. The world is watching. In the chaos that follows, Snowden is forced to flee. With assistance from Laura, Glenn, and Ewan, he boards a flight to Latin America by way of Russia. But the US government moves quickly. His passport is revoked mid-flight. Upon arrival in Moscow, he is stranded. He is unable to move forward. He cannot return. He waits. Months pass. Eventually, Russia grants him temporary asylum. 3 years. A compromise. A lifeline. Mills joins him later. The reunion is emotional. Their love, tested by distance, secrets, and danger, still holds. They embrace. They commit to one another anew. Snowden, though exiled, finds purpose. He begins to speak publicly. Through remote interviews and virtual platforms, he champions privacy rights, government accountability, and digital freedom. He expresses his willingness to return to the United States if guaranteed a fair trial. He does not regret his choices, but he seeks justice. As the film draws to a close, real-world footage takes over. News clips, headlines, and interviews cascade across the screen. Congressional hearings, global protests, new legislation. The impact of Snowden's actions reverberates across governments and societies. The NSA is forced to confront its own practices. Policies are reviewed. Some are repealed. Others simply renamed. Snowden remains in Moscow, a man both celebrated and condemned, a whistleblower, a traitor, a patriot, a warning. His story, like the surveillance systems he exposed, continues to unfold.